Measurement and evaluation. At the beginning and end of your PR campaign, you have to evaluate what you're doing. How will you know if the program is working? Or how would you know if it has worked? It is only when you have measured or evaluated. In public relations, we measure to prove value to our clients, our managers, our boards. This is because more often than not, you come across institutions where they doubt the relevance of public relations. So it is important that you understand measurement and evaluation so you're able to prove your worth in your organization or wherever you find yourself. When you evaluate, you're able to tell the number of audience, for instance, who have received your message. You're able to tell those who have changed your opinion and those who have changed their behavior. Now, when you do your evaluation, you should be able to distinguish, especially in an organization where we have advertising and marketing departments and all, the nature of your evaluation should be able to distinguish the effects of public relations from, or the achievements of public relations from that of advertising or marketing. You understand? So that they do not get to, if sales has increased, for instance, is it all the time that it's advertising? No, sometimes public relations bring sales. But how do you prove it? Through measurement and evaluation. And how you measure and how you evaluate will help bring this out. We have formative and summative evaluation. Formative means an ongoing evaluation. As we are unrolling the campaign. So you remember in advertising class you did media schedule, media planning and buying, the schedule and all that. So you have a campaign, let's say, to run for a year, or you are trying to build a brand. People have a poor perception of a certain institution, and you have 2 years to change that perception. As you are working within the 2 years, maybe after 6 months, you decide, let me evaluate what we have been doing so far. And then when it comes to summative, it is after you are done with it, and then you evaluate everything. So you do it as you're doing it and at the end. So those are the two kinds of classification. Evaluation and measurement. So it will let you know whether you should modify your plan midway. Are the radio adverts working? Is our own media working? Can we make certain changes? Do we need to include a particular audience or take out a particular audience? Formative research would help you understand this. So you get to know whether you're being effective or you're just wasting your time and the company's time. When you do summative research, you are able to show results to management. You are able to compare your outcomes with your objectives to see if you have achieved what you want to achieve. Because of course you cannot use formative research to do that, because you are not done. You know, when you set objectives, it is time bound. So until the time is up and then you conduct summative research, that's when you'll be able to know whether your outcomes and your objectives have been met. That's why it's important to conduct summative research also. So you don't say, Nasadian, as I was doing it, I was conducting formative research. Now, what do we measure in public relations? Over here, you see Wilcox, Cameron, and Reba say we measure 3 things, and they are in levels. So we have 3 levels of measurement. They are saying the basic one that everybody is measuring: impression, how many people saw the ad, or the story, how many media platforms share the stories or media placements, how many audiences did we reach. These are basic measurements of public relations. As you go up, which is intermediate, you require more sophisticated or more difficult techniques. Yeah, because if you want to know impressions, all you have to do is just check, click, and then see the number of impressions your story has had on your website or wherever. But when it comes to finding out awareness or comprehension, yeah, how many people have understood, that one too is a different level of measurement. The highest level is where you are measuring behavior, attitude, and opinion change. That's huge. You have changed a behavior. When you succeed in changing a behavior, somebody's behavior is buying, let's say, ice cream after school. If you modify that behavior and now you let the person buy gum after school, that's top notch. If people, you are advocating PR advocacy, if you are advocating for people to vote and you are able to get a behavioral change, people are voting, that's top notch. So that is what Wilcox and Co are saying, that these are the 3 levels of measurement. But there are also 5 measurement strategies. So basically, what you're saying is the ways by which you can go about measuring. One is measuring production, measuring exposure, measuring awareness, measuring attitude, and measuring audience action. And when you look at the previous table by Wilcox, you realize that all of the various ones fall under here one way or the other. When we say you are measuring production, basically how many have you produced? How many news releases have you produced? How many news stories have you produced? How many blog postings have you posted or uploaded? You are measuring production, what you have produced or churned out, quantity. So you realize then that it will be at the lowest level. And then you can do measurement by exposure, impression. How many people have seen it? Yeah. How many people? Yeah. So that is the impression or the exposure. And that one too, I think you know where you would find it, and the Wilcox levels of measurement. We can also measure by awareness. You want to determine whether the target group has paid attention to the messages that, yeah. Because remember, awareness is the person or the persons knowing that this is there. Yes, I have heard of it. Yes, I know of it. Yeah, they retain the message is also under retention of message is also under this section where you can measure by awareness. You can measure whether they have retained the message. So over here, you realize we're talking about people paying attention to messages, people being aware of messages, people retaining messages. So you realize that it straddles levels 2 and 3 of Wilcox's levels of measurement. And then you can also measure by audience attitude. So when we're saying attitude, we're looking at their opinions. Yeah. Now you can evaluate it using pre and post measurement of attitudes. What this means is, if you want to see if you will be able to change an opinion, ideally, before you embark on your campaign, find out what the opinion is about that issue. If you want to change people's opinion about female genital mutilation or about homosexuality, find out what it is now. And then, after you are done with your campaign, find out what it is after the campaign. Yeah, so those are the post-testing messages. And then you'll be able to measure and see whether you have been able to change attitudes. And then messages by audience can be measured by audience action. What action have they taken? Yeah, what actions have they taken? Behavior. What actions have they taken? So that is behavior. Now, when you're doing measurement, these are some guidelines. The volume of output does not determine result. The fact that you have put across 20 news stories does not mean, oh, it means now you have changed behavior. There is no correlation whatsoever. Somebody can send out one press release and it would do wonders than 10 news stories. So it has nothing to do with it. Yeah. All right. An estimate is not measurement. So basically, what we're saying is don't estimate, actually go ahead and measure. Don't say, oh, about this, and you are not sure what your output is. No, don't go about things like that way. Go ahead and actually measure and know the exact numbers you're dealing with. And experience and intuition help. If you have experience in doing certain things, you know that, oh, from experience, if I do this or I churn out that, it will work. But it is not enough for you to know if what you're doing is effective. And more often than not, in organizations, that's what you find. That people who have been in the system for a while feel that when the young ones come and they are insisting on measurement, they feel, what do you know? Are you trying to challenge me? Are you saying what I am saying we should do? My tactics are not good enough. But experience and intuition is not a sufficient measurement of effectiveness of the PR activity. When you are selecting your sample for your research, please note that you should select them carefully, the people who will be partaking in your research study, yeah, your evaluation, because sometimes people can give you wrong information, not because they actually want to misinform you, but because of the nature of what it is that you are looking for. Yeah, so you may find that some people have volunteered to give you information, but the information they are giving you may obscure the actual, should I say, thing on the ground. So if you want to know if Christianity is growing and you sample maybe church elders, chances are they will say, yes, Christianity is growing stronger and stronger every day. You understand? But if you ask another group, they might say, it's a sad thing, you know. So when you're selecting your sample, what will mean in that church example is you would have data which is unrealistic, you would have incorrect data, you may have incorrect data. So you have to be careful in selecting your sample, and that is why I am sure you're taking your research seriously. Okay. Now, there's the effort error. People feel if I have put in more effort, then it means, oh, people now understand the message that I have put out. The fact that you have put in a lot of effort does not equate to people having lots of knowledge about what you are doing. The knowledge error, the fact that people know or are aware of what you are doing, does not mean they have a favorable attitude or opinion about it. So what an audience know about a topic does not necessarily, a lot of people now know about homosexuality, but doesn't it mean they have a favorable attitude towards it? No. So don't fall into the knowledge error trap where you think because people know, it means they have positive feelings about it. And then favorable perception does not necessarily mean behavior. It will translate into people taking action. Yeah, that's the attitude error. You think that because people have a positive attitude, it means they will take positive behavior or positive action. some people may have a positive attitude or perception towards homosexuality. Maybe they'll say, oh, let them go ahead and practice. I mean, they also have their right. It's, so they have a positive attitude towards it. But does not necessarily mean they themselves are going to practice it. Yeah. So the fact that somebody knows smoking is bad does not mean the person is going to stop. Yeah. So the fact that somebody has a negative perception or attitude towards something does not mean the person will have a negative behavior towards it. For instance, and the fact that somebody has a positive attitude towards something does not mean the person will have a positive behavior. For positive attitude and positive behavior, I have explained with the homosexuality. But what about negative attitude and then positive behavior? So the person has a unfavorable perception, but the person is doing it. One example is e-levy. Many have unfavorable perception of the e-levy, but when it comes to behavior, they are undertaking actions that cause them to pay e-levy. They could do cash, but they're not. So the attitude error says positive attitude does not necessarily translate into behavior. Negative attitude does not necessarily translate into negative behavior or positive behavior. So you will have to take that into consideration. If you do your research and people are saying good things about your organization, it does not necessarily mean when it comes to working with your organization they would want to do that. Now, Broom and Shah also decided, let us give metrics, what to measure when it comes to researching PR. So they came up with a model of evaluation, and they gave 3 stages that things are evaluated in public relations. They said the preparation stage, implementation stage, and then the impact stage. The preparation stage is, of course, where you are getting your message together. The background information you would have, that's the basic research you would have done. The appropriateness of the message, the program, the presentation quality, like how well you have put together your message. All those things are preparational stages, and Broom and Shah are saying you should evaluate or measure these things to ensure that the preparation stage is top notch. And then it says after the preparation stage, you go to the implementation stage, where of course you would have implemented what it is. Now, in the implementation stage, they are saying, look at your distribution. How many messages have you distributed? Placement. How have you done the distribution? On which platforms? What are the potential audiences? How many people have you been able to reach? How many people have been able to pay attention to your message? So all these, Broom and Shah say, fall under the implementation stage. Now, after you have implemented it, they are saying then you find out the impact. So that's where you see if they have gained knowledge or they have changed their attitude or behavior or whatever it is that you are looking for. So this is Broom and Shah's divisions: preparation, implementation, impact, PII. So when you hear PII, model of evaluation, that is Broom and Shah, and that is what they mean. So in your public relations life, you can also decide whatever campaign you're doing. At every stage, you would go ahead and then measure and find out whether you have any holes in there, and then you plug them. Now, McNamara also has a model of PR research. Just like Broom and Shah, McNamara also has 3 levels: input, output, outcome. So the input is basically what it is that you have done. The quality of the message presentation, appropriateness of the message content, just like the first stage. Remember, look at the preparation stage of the PII. where adequacy of the information, organization, and appropriateness. So it's similar to the inputs over here. And then the output also number how many people understood the message, how many people retain the message. All of these things fall under the output stage. And then the outcome is where we're looking at behavior. And when you look at the right side of the diagram where we have applicable methodologies, they're just telling you what you can use to measure at each level. So at the input level, you're looking at peer review. Ask your friends, Charlie, this letter that I've written, this press release I want to send, what do you think? You know, those kind of things. It lets you know, it helps you to measure whether it is going to be effective or not. And then at the output stage, focus groups, interviews, it lets you know the number of people who have understood the message, those who have retained the message, and all that. At the outcome stage, you do again quantitative surveys or focus groups or surveys to find out whether their behavior has changed or their attitude has changed. So you realize that as the pyramid goes, so let's say we're starting from the base of the pyramid. As it goes up, of course, it narrows because it's anticipated that at the input level you get a lot of people there, but as the communication becomes more, should I say, the quality improves, it reduces the number of people who the message impacts, because basically what it does is it takes away people who would not find any use for your message. Because if you speak to 10,000 people in a radio ad, of course not all 10,000 of them are going to change. Some would hear and then go like, okay. Others will move on to the next stage, which is the output stage, where they will remember, where they would understand, and then there are those whose behaviors would change. So that is how McNamara's pyramid model of public relations research also works. So in summary, evaluation is a beginning rather than a final step. So what we're saying is, don't wait to evaluate at the end of it. Start evaluating at the beginning. As you have seen, PII model says preparation, first stage, do it. McNamara also says input, first stage, do research. All the stages they're asking you to conduct research over there, and it helps you to get direction for ongoing programs. So it lets you know whether you're headed in the wrong direction or you're on track, and it helps establish the value of public relations. I hope this is clear. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section.